Well, let's jump right into our interview today. We have one of our licensees who has been through our training here in the workshop and is going through the due diligence, has been already through all that some of you are going through right now. Her name is Amber Colbert, and she's on the line with us right now, and she may even have a webcam. Amber, you there with us?
Yes. Hello.
Hey. Looks like you're live and in person here.
All right. Yes.
As they used to say. Now it's via Skype, I guess.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Amber, for taking time. I know you have a very busy schedule because we talked a little earlier about some of the stuff you've got going on. So for you to take out this hour, you just don't know how I appreciate this. And it's appreciated by the people who are, you know, they're thinking about getting into the business just like you did. And I'm sure you saw some of these interviews and know how important it is that people hear from somebody who's actually there and doing it.
Exactly.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and when you came through the training?
Okay, so hello everyone, welcome. I'm so excited to be here. I'm honored just to be able to share with you guys a little bit about my experience. So I am also a nurse practitioner, and so I have been practicing maybe for about 5 years. And my husband is an accountant, and so when we kind of were thinking of ways that we wanted just to be able to invest and look at other opportunities where we can actually bring more revenue in other areas, when I came across this opportunity, it really kind of encouraged us to say, oh, this is something that we might possibly really be able to have some success in. And so I started, I did the training in October of 2016 here in Dallas, Texas. So
I remember that well. In fact, somewhere here I have a picture of you and me graduating. Somehow I got all the way back to the beginning there. Okay, let's see. Oh, I forgot to show a couple of other slides here. You can come visit us anytime you want to, folks. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we do live training. This is not your particular class, but it looks like that.
Class, but yes, it does.
And you recognize that lady up front, probably.
Yes.
That's Cynthia.
She's phenomenal.
She's also a licensee from the Phoenix area.
Yes, she was so great. She really was.
She's pretty dynamic, isn't she?
Oh, yes.
I think it's the Mountain Dew. A lot of Mountain Dew drunk during that week, and maybe some coffee, too. Okay, so here we are. This is you graduating. There you are with your certificate.
Yes, and let me just say, I had just had a baby in August, and then I did the training in October.
I remember that. Yes, you left your baby just to come down for us. Oh boy, that's great. That's dedication.
Yes. So.
Well, I'm sure one of the questions that's going to come up, of course, is you know, do you have to be an NP to get into this business of being a medical revenue manager?
Right. Absolutely not. And even that people can think, oh yes, you're an MP, so you would just know everything. But actually, I didn't. We're not trained that way in school to really learn the back end. We're trained clinically how to treat patients and write prescriptions and all of that. That's great, but not really in managing the back end of really your charts and when you're diagnosing and to really connect your codes and everything. We were never really taught that. So this definitely was some uncharted territory. But then there were some areas where I was kind of familiar with the anatomy and different things like that.
Yeah, the technology, the terminology, of course, would be familiar to you. So you didn't have any coding training at all?
Nothing that really, and I work mostly in the emergency room, and so the hospitals where I were at, they mostly had coders that were. So I just did my part, and they did the rest.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because we talk to a lot of people who have worked in doctors' offices, and whenever I start talking to them about the doctors being the worst business people in the world, they all start nodding and going, yes.
Exactly.
But that's not what you wanted to be trained in, how to run a business. You wanted to know how to help people with their, medical problems. So
exactly.
Now, I had a question up here that I must have gotten wild with my little delete key there as I was deleting comments, and I may have gotten rid of that one. So I forget who it was that wrote that in, but they started asking a question. I think that it had to do with How long did it take you to get your first client, and what type of client was that? Can you kind of share that story with us?
Sure. So I did the training in October, and I actually kind of took about a 2 month pause. We had some things going around in the house. I have some little kids, and so was busy, kind of tied up with all of that. So really not until January of this year did I really kind of start really applying the marketing tools that was given to me during training. And from that, I found my first client kind of through social media. We had a similar page of similar professions on Facebook. And so kind of was putting some fillers out there, and I actually found my first client through that, which was amazing.
That's fantastic. You know, I've never twitted in my whole life, so I don't know a whole lot about social media. However, our instructor, Cynthia, does, and of course uses that. And we don't teach a whole lot about it in the training class, but we do refer you to some websites and some books that will give you a good start on that. It's just a real in-depth, concentrated way of getting, into the social media, and it changes quite often. So you got to kind of keep up with that.
Exactly. Yes. For sure.
Well, so basically, you just found another person there on the web through Facebook that you connected with, and tell us a little bit about that person.
So she is a nurse practitioner as well, who owns her own clinic, and so we were able to talk with her. I did the presentation showing her what I claim EMRX, and she was really impressed. And she was her current EHR system, she was really frustrated with them, and her accounts receivables was really high, and the turnaround rate for insurance. So she was at a point where she was definitely looking for that. So after the presentation and just her meeting and talking with me, then we signed her up in February. So
that is fantastic. So that was after you actually started marketing in January, that's within 30 days or so, huh?
Yes, it was.
Now, is that your only client at this point?
I have one other client. It's a social worker, so she has like counseling, behavioral health kind of. So it's a smaller account there. But the one client that I had, she currently has purchased 2 new locations. So I have 3 accounts with that one client. My first client. So it's definitely overwhelming. It's exciting to the point we are about to hire our first employee. So it is moving along.
So you're doing all the work right now, but you do get to the point where you go, you know what, I could hire somebody to do this data entry stuff. Huh?
Exactly, because I don't have a typical Monday through Friday 9 to 5. My hours are all over the place, and I don't have to work as many shifts per month. So that has definitely helped me in getting the business off the ground. But I had already set goals when I first got the client signed up. As my plan is to run the business for this long, and then when it gets to this point, I will need to hire someone, bring more people in. So we definitely reached our benchmarks.
All right, so let me go back let me see if I've got my cursor in the right spot here, and I think I can go back to the live workshop shot here. Let's see if it switches to. Is that showing again now?
Yes.
All right, so everybody asks when they talk to existing licensees, because folks, those of you on the webinar today, if you haven't spoken to somebody like Amber, we do have a list of references of people who've been through the training that are willing to take some phone calls. And, they always ask about the workshop itself. Give us your impression of that and just kind of give people a feel for what that week's like.
Sure. I loved the workshop. It was really great. Getting a chance to meet other licensees from all over was really amazing. We encouraged each other, and we, we're just kind of bouncing ideas off of one another. Cynthia was phenomenal, just from really helping go through the process and really training and teaching us. And she answered all of our questions that we had, every single one of them. She was very patient with us, and it was really great. I feel like ABS really provided all of the support on the back end to really help my business flourish.
It's great having somebody teaching you who's actually doing it.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
All right, I see a question coming in here, so I'm going to zoom in on my screen here so I can read it.
Sure thing.
I hear somebody else talking. I don't know if that's. We've got a producer that's in the background. Sometimes he forgets to mute his mic. I don't know if that's it or not. Okay, here it is. This is from Anya, and I guess because I have my screen a certain way there, it is not letting me read the entire question. So I'm going to work on that here. Let me go ahead and ask you a question that you can address. You started in this part-time then because you're still an MP and you're still working.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And people always ask that question: is it possible to get something like this started in your part-time? So you're obviously our system is available 24/7 because the internet's
Correct.
open 24/7.
Right.
So is that what you do? Just work this around your schedule, and sometimes
Exactly.
you're working late at night, or?
Exactly. I can process claims at midnight, and then we have access to a lot of the insurance's online websites, and so we're looking at claims and all that late at night. It doesn't have to be through the 8 to 5 typical hours.
Yeah. All right. And let me ask you this. You said it took you about 30 days to get that first client. What about that other one that you mentioned, the second client?
Maybe the next month.
Okay, so another one in another month. Good.
Mm-hmm.
And how quickly did this NP, once you started using you, open these other two clients
She just did that like 2 weeks ago. So we're still in the implementation phase of getting those up and going. Yes.
Now tell people what you mean by the implementation phase.
To actually really get iClaim and EMRX integrated and have them training all of their staff and all of that. That takes a process.
Yeah, and of course we have technology partners that are associated with us that help out with that.
Exactly. They are phenomenal as well. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. I don't keep in contact with every licensee, and so I haven't asked you that question as to whether you've run into any problems. But you know, if you do, our support team is willing to step in and make it happen, whatever it takes.
Exactly.
So don't hesitate to contact us there. Okay, I think I can see this question now. It is from Anya, and she says, I have a degree in economics and international business. I've worked with health service agencies, but never as a doctor, obviously. Would that be a challenge while training or pursuing the ABS opportunity? I don't think it would be a challenge unless she just doesn't have any time, huh?
Right. No, I don't think it would be. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and you certainly don't have to be a doctor. We want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
No, you don't.
In fact, I don't know if I asked this question during the workshop or not, but usually I'll ask the class, how many of you have any kind of background in the medical field? And very few people raise their hand.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had like 3 in our class out of 20. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, she says yes. That was my question. All right. So, folks, let me encourage all of you who are listening today. You may not realize this is live, but it really is. Well, unless you're watching the recording, which would be pretty obvious that you're doing that too. But if you're on GoToWebinar right now, you're actually hearing us live. So you can type a question in. Just address your questions, just directly to Amber, as if you were talking to her, and I'll read them here on the screen as they come in, and I'll read them to her. Otherwise, I've got a couple of other questions here too I wanted to ask you, because we do have people asking this question. You said that this first client was an NP, and the second one was a social worker, a
counselor, licensed social work counselor.
And do you have any thoughts at this point, Amber, as to what type of specialties you want to try to aim for?
At this point, I'm just kind of sticking with behavioral health and family at this point, but I'm open. I'm open to in the future if we do more marketing and down the line.
Yeah, we have about a dozen different ways, of course, that we teach our licensees to go out and do the marketing. You just happen to get yours through social media, but a lot of people don't realize that licensees sometimes get a podiatrist, for example, as their first client. Then that podiatrist knows another podiatrist, of course, and so they'll refer you to that type of doctor. And then all of a sudden you're a podiatrist specialist.
Yes, I have heard that. Exactly. My specialty right now just seems to be in family medicine, where we're doing.
And that's good, because that's a huge market in and of itself, isn't it?
Exactly.
All right. So give me a feel for the projected, once you get these clinics up and running and your 2 clients up and running, what kind of number of claims or monthly dollar volume that you think you'll be billing? You got any feel for that? Have you done some calculations from your practice analysis, for example?
Yes, I'm trying to think. We are probably about 500 claims a month is kind of what we're looking at once we get them all up and running.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what kind of average fee is being charged? What your average claim would be? Is it
usually about 125 a claim?
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing some sort of are you pricing it like we taught you to do it on a percentage basis? You collect a percentage.
Correct. Mm-hmm. I collect a percentage.
So for those folks who are still kind of looking into the business for the first time and don't really understand that, kind of give them a feel for how you are going to get paid from your clients.
So basically, when the insurance pays our client, I do the billing on the back end. So then I bill my client for my services, and so I give her. We agreed upon a percentage at our signing of our contract, and so then that's what on my monthly statements that I send her. That is the percentage that I'm collecting on the insurance that she received.
Yeah. So if they have if you're billing $100,000 a month for all of your clients in total, and you're charging them all on an average of, what do you think you're charging normally? What's an average?
About 7%.
Yeah. So 7% of the 100,000, that's 7,000 a month. Now you have expenses, of course, that you have to take out. That's not net profit, but it still doesn't take a whole lot of clients to make a fairly good income once you get to that level.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Amber, I don't know if we told you this or not during the training workshop. Sometimes I'll interview some licensees that are out there in the field, and we have people who are billing 7 figures now.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
For doctors.
I believe it.
If you think about it, that's 10 doctors doing 100,000 a month is all that is, and so it amounts up pretty fast. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're going to look at your questions here and take them as they're coming in. So as we do that, I'll be reading just your first name, of course, and the question is if it's asked directly to Amber. So that was one of the questions that we just had here from Al. He just said, what do you typically charge percentage-wise for the amount that you collect for your clients? And you said about 7%. Mm-hmm. In the class, we teach that it runs 5 to 8% nationwide. Right. Although I've had licensees tell me that they charged a little bit more, but I had one guy said that he charged like, I don't know, it was like 4%, 4.5%. He said, I just wanted that first client. And then he said when he got his second client that second client wanted the same deal, so you got to be careful there.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. All in the negotiation. Exactly.
Celeste says, Amber, do you charge any kind of setup fee when you set up a doctor?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. I just kind of look at overall what are their services that they're wanting to purchase from me, and I kind of just look at all the back end it's going to take for the work, and as my calculations. And as you'll learn in training, that's a really key component is your setup fee. And Cynthia does a great job of really giving us the right tools as to how to calculate that and to come up with what number per client.
Yeah. Cindy says, do you feel like there is much competition out there, and don't you feel like those of us on the webinar would be your competitors if we got in the business?
Well, I think the beauty of it is that everybody lives all over the place. And so I think a lot of it is relationship driven. And I think what I've even seen in my client is that she was a part of one of the big EHR systems. And so she really didn't have a lot of the personal kind of one-on-one. She felt like she was just another client in their little, big tool. And so by me coming along, and I've had really direct contact I have been her just like right-hand person. And so I think she's really appreciated that. And that to me is what has been kind of my selling point. You can go to all of these big fancy billing companies, but sometimes you don't always get the really close and personal one-on-one connections.
That's true. They don't want to deal with somebody from a foreign country or even on an 800 number that's some anonymous voice on the phone. They want to deal with somebody local like yourself that's a business owner like they are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I can get in the car and come to her if I need to, or either way.
Okay, Alan says, do most of the doctors that you've contacted have their own their billing outsourced now, or do they have it done in-house by their staff?
In the during the time when I was doing the heavy marketing, I was kind of seeing a combination of both. I was seeing some doctors and other providers were doing in-house, and some were outsourcing. It was just kind of a mix.
Yeah, and I think nationwide that's probably about what we get from most licensees, about half and half of what they run into out there. Depends on the area of the country, of course.
Sure.
Okay, let's see. All right, did you get paid? Oh, okay, this is Jane. She said she sent an email, but she typed it in here too. She says, do you get paid the 7% on the money collected or on the actual amount billed?
I do it on the amount collected. That's just kind of what we agreed upon, but you're definitely open to do it to either or. This being my first client, that's something I was fine with.
I think that's what most licensees do, and what we recommend is on the money collected, because from the doctor's standpoint, they want you to have that incentive, you know, that you don't get paid as much as you would be paid if you don't collect as much as you can. So,
exactly.
Amber, you probably haven't had enough experience, just having had the clients here a few months, to see what kind of rejection rate that you'll eventually have.
Right.
Do you have a feel for that yet? Are they going through?
Yeah, a majority of them are, and my client has really been impressed with just our turnaround times from the payers. She is seeing that that's one of the really key factors that she's liking with our I-claim. So that has been.
From what we hear from most licensees, after a few months, it takes a little while, you know, to get the thing the process running. But once you start collecting the money for the doctor and their rejection rate goes down to what ours is nationwide, which is less than 2%, they are blown away, and they're getting more money in than they've ever seen before, and it's costing them less money than doing it with their own staff.
Exactly.
All right, here's a question from Tim. He says, do you know whether ABS's market share based on clients using ABS versus a competitor firm's systems has been increasing in the recent past? Well, that's more of a question for me, and Tim, I'll just say this. Yes, we are getting, there's all kinds of people out there trying to sell medical billing services to doctors, and if they don't have the right system, if they don't have the most leading edge technology, they can't really be competitive, can they, Amber?
Right.
So that's the great thing about ours, is it's pretty cutting edge. Okay, let's see. Jefferson says, what was your key approach, Amber, in banking your service to your clients? I guess in promoting your service, given the presence of huge billing companies. Have you run into any?
Not major, but I think that I had the example of where my client was already with her large big billing company that she was a part of, and they had her like in a hole, and she was like in a desperate situation. And so when I kind of came in, I had to kind of help her rebuild a lot of things, because this big large billing company had put her in these, because she didn't have a lot of people that were actually following up on claims and things like that. So her AR was pretty impressive.
All right, so again, I don't know that you've had a lot of experience in doing the marketing, since you got your 2 clients fairly quickly through social media. But let's see, Dan is asking, when a doctor is already outsourcing, how difficult is it to get them to leave their current biller?
I think the key factor is, when, in my experience in marketing, and just trying to get in there and to really actually just at least let them see a demo. That has kind of been my biggest push. So if they can really start to love the EMRX and the I-claim, then sometimes that can really kind of help as well in the system-wide. And just you being able to show them everything that you can offer.
Yes, and the book that I showed earlier, the new thriving medical practice, folks, that is actually a marketing tool.
Yes, that's really good.
and going out and marketing. And Amber, that kind of brings up what we talked about earlier before we started the webinar. You and I were chatting. Tell us a little bit about these meetings that you've gone to where you've actually spoken.
Yes. I've actually gotten a chance to speak at about 2 seminars for potential business owners who want to own their own clinic providers. And so I had my table display, and then I got a chance to give to do my PowerPoint.
Amber?
Yes.
We just lost your audio there.
Uh-oh.
Right, let me see what's going on here.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, now I can. Yeah.
Okay. That's okay. So I got a chance to speak at two of those seminars, and I had my table presentations. Everything was out, all of my flyers that ABS gave me with all my personal information, and also had my books displayed. And the people at the seminars were like so impressed with the book. They were like lining up at my table, and they were like, how much are the books are you selling? And I was able to tell them, no, I'm not selling them. They're for free, but it's great information. So they were everybody wanted a book. They were just so excited to really learn about cash flow and really how to work on your back end of your practice. So the books are phenomenal.
Well, that's great. And if you look at this slide I have up here now, folks, you'll see that book on the right-hand side there. That's the New Thriving Medical Practice. I think I can maybe even increase the size of that. But the point is that this is a great marketing tool. It's a paperback book, about 170 pages. You can buy it on Amazon for $24.95, but you can get a copy right now free. Right now, over in the handout section of the GoToWebinar, you'll see it there as a PDF.
Awesome.
And we've given that to you so you can download it, go ahead and look through it, read it. It's a great marketing tool, isn't it?
It really is. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, Dr. Ragnar has been in medical practice for 30 years, and when she and I got together to write this book, she said, Patrick, we need to help those doctors that are out there in private practice. They're struggling right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's mainly cash flow. And we can solve that for them with the techniques we teach in this book. So basically, folks, you as an ABS licensee, just like Amber, gives this book as a gift to your prospective doctors and your clients. And they just really appreciate the fact that somebody is recognizing that doctors are having trouble, in private practice and trying to, survive, basically, because they're being wooed by the hospitals and other big medical groups. And they don't want to go to work for somebody else, but sometimes if they don't know what they're doing and they're not good business people, they can't do what they need to do to make money. Look, here's the subtitle. I kind of enlarged it there so you can see how to get off the hamster wheel and work smarter, not harder, generate more revenue, and enjoy greater career satisfaction in the era of the Affordable Care Act. Well, as you know, Amber, we've actually changed that subtitle to talk about the fact that it's in the post-Obamacare era. Now, whether it is or not, who knows, right? I mean, they're right in the middle of all that.
Exactly.
The Republicans are sitting on their thumbs or whatever, and so we don't know what's going to happen. But the point is that doctors are aware that things are changing, and they don't really want to keep up with this. They don't really have the time to keep up with it. In fact, I have an article here. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but you might want a copy of this, Amber. I can send this to you. Look, this is from Medical Economics, and if you look at the date on there, I can't see it because I'm blind, but if I zoom in, I can see it. It's July 17th. Yeah, I mean, just this past month. And as you can see, the title of it, if you operate a medical practice, you should be outsourcing. This is a publication for doctors.
Exactly.
And it goes into some great reasons. So this is a good reprint, Amber, for you to send out either by email or,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. One thing I thought about when I was signing on my first client, there was some hesitation with her husband to really get him on board. And he did for a minute. He thought about, why don't we just bring somebody in and have them, do our own billing just in-house. And so then that's when I really tried to lay out to them the benefits of outsourcing. And so I just kind of went through my list of showing her, and I actually showed her the crunch the numbers for how it's more actually costs you more to bring somebody in versus outsourcing. So that was a great tool that I had learned from.
Oh, that's nice.
It helped.
Yeah, if you ask most doctors, what do you think it costs to process a claim in your office? They'll say, oh, I don't know, $1 or $2, maybe $2 or $3, and it's closer. the studies have been done. It's closer to $20 a claim for them to have
Mm-hmm.
that processed and then follow up and then, receive the money on the back end and handle all
Right.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And so to outsource it, that's just the future in every industry. Just outsource
Exactly.
it out of your office. Let somebody who's a specialist handle that.
Exactly.
All right, let's see. Here's another question. Let's look at this one. This is from Eric. Is it easier to target smaller independent physicians versus larger groups with 10 plus physicians and the large hospital affiliated groups with 50 plus? I wouldn't recommend anybody start out with a big
No.
group, would you?
No. Yes, when I was doing my marketing, I targeted the smaller private practices. Yes.
Yeah, and there's plenty of those out there.
Exactly.
But we have had licensees. Their first client was a big clinic with 10 providers in there. It just
Wow, that's
kind of
awesome.
overwhelming when you don't know what you're doing right at the first to get that big a client. And I
Exactly.
tell people, look, don't go after the elephants. There's plenty of little rabbits out there. Just gather up as many of those rabbits, and that'll feed you for a long time.
Exactly.
Let's see. Here's the one from Tim. How involved are you when bringing a new doctor on board with the training for the staff and so forth?
I assist with our technology partners. They help out as well, and then I'm there as well. So I'm a lot of hands-on, coordinating a lot of things, scheduling appointments and training, and all of that. So I'm pretty involved.
It's better at first, at least your first client or two, to get really
Exactly.
involved in that yourself because you're learning too, right?
Exactly. So I want to be the expert of that.
Exactly. Let's see. This is Anna. Anna is asking, what does a typical day at the office look like for you? And by the way, Amber, are you, this is your home? We're looking at there behind you? So
Yes.
This is your home office, basically. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, this is me working in the office.
Give us a feel for that. What is your typical day? I know you're also working as an NP, but I mean, as far as the billing service is concerned, what do you do on a daily basis there?
Sure. On a daily basis, I am processing claims. I'm following up on claims as well, contacting insurance payers to find out why a claim wasn't paid, what was missing, and then addressing those and resubmitting those claims. That's what a lot of the day in and out of is.
And that goes along with another question here from John. He says, how long does it take you to enter and process a claim?
Oh, goodness. To enter and process a claim, maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's not that involved is it, once you learn the system, of course.
Exactly. Once you get it down, it's not at all.
And Amber, are any of your clients, either one now at this point, utilizing the electronic medical record system, or are they just letting you do the billing?
No, they're doing the electronic medical. My main client is, and she actually loves it. She actually has students working for her as well, and they're like, oh my gosh, they picked this up so fast, and it's phenomenal. So during when I got a chance to go to the seminars, I did my presentation and showing them all about EMRX, and so it's so funny how she was able then to even compare her old system and tell these new prospect owners, like, look, this is the system I was using, but then also this system has all these great features. So she was almost doing the presentation more than I was. So she really does. Yeah, she really loves it.
Now, I don't know if you have our advice, but in the training we teach you to build into your pricing and your setup fee an iPad for the doctor, because if they're using the electronic medical record system, of course, that comes in really handy for them when they're actually speaking with their patients, right, to have that in front of them. Are you going to try to work that in?
Yes, she had already purchased 2 of them before she went live, because that was one of her features that she loved. Like, oh my goodness, the patients can sit out in the waiting room and use their iPad to already get registered. So they love that feature.
That is awesome. I saw a doctor here a while back, and he was an older fella, so I guess technology was not his thing. But he comes in the room with a laptop, balancing this huge laptop, and sits down over at the counter behind, with his back turned to me. And I don't think he ever saw me even. He was so involved in trying to put stuff in on his laptop. Where with the iPad, of course, let me put that screen up there that has a picture of it. The doctor's actually holding that right there in their hand.
Exactly.
Yeah, here, I've got one right here. So if you've got an iPad that you could actually illustrate this to a doctor, for them to be able to hold that up, just right here, like a little pad, and they're just touching some buttons as they're interviewing the patient. It's much more interactive and personal.
Exactly. Oh, and I want to say one thing. This was really helped me during training. I did not realize, but Cynthia really explained the whole process. When you actually get a doctor to do a demo, our wonderful technology partners are there to actually help do the demo. So you don't have to worry about trying to do any of that. So that was a really key thing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Well, thank you. I kind of skipped over it when you were saying that earlier about the demo. That is important for people on the webinar today to know that once you're in business by yourself, but not, for yourself, but not by yourself. Because ABS is right there with you, and we have full-time people that's their job, is to show a demonstration of the technology. So even though you're there to get the billing for the doctor, you're not trying to sell them software, they do want to see the technology. They're all interested in that, aren't they, Amber?
Oh yes, for sure. Their workflow, that's their biggest headache, can be at times too.
Now, I think you may have mentioned this earlier when you and I were talking. Have we said this on the actual webinar for folks that you're at the point now where you're thinking about hiring people, right?
Yes, we are about to hire our first employee, so it's exciting.
Oh yeah. Now, are you going to hire them as a true employee or just as a independent contractor?
Independent contractor at this point, and we'll do kind of a quarterly 3-month trial, see how it goes, and reevaluate from there.
Yeah, I used to call it a working interview. When I would hire somebody, this is a working interview. Let's see how it works out.
Exactly.
For both of us in 30 days, and then we'll look at 60 days, and then we'll look at 90 days.
Right. It's not permanent at this time. Exactly.
So they'll be working from their home. Is that what you're going to do?
Correct, remotely, and we'll have opportunities where we can share screens and do our webinars, like conferences and stuff, videos.
Sure, just like we're doing now. And
exactly.
You can see whatever they're looking at right on your screen. It's like training people holding their hand, but you don't have to be there physically with them.
Exactly, which is so nice.
And then eventually we'll have virtual reality,
I know. Yes.
All right, here's a question from Daryl. He says, Amber, what has been your experience when talking to medical professionals with some of the big groups buying out private practices? Do you feel this has a negative impact on the availability of attaining clients for medical billing? No,
I think you're always going to have the big top competitors out there, but then you have to, I think, just like Patrick said, there's the little smaller ones that aren't always a lot of people focusing on. So that's kind of why I targeted those areas. So no, I'm not intimidated, and so you have to do the best you can. And so that's been my motto.
And people don't realize that it really doesn't take that many clients for you to make a fairly good income. So if there's in your entire marketing area, let's say you think of your marketing territory, although we don't restrict territories, but let's say you think of it as 50 miles out is what I'm willing to go and travel and work with people. There's probably hundreds of private practices out there and NPs that you can be billing for. So you don't have to worry about that. You just need a handful, don't you, to make a fairly good income.
That was my goal. 4 clients, 4 accounts for the first year. That kind of was my goal. So.
Well, wow, you got it already, right? With the 2 clinics.
I know. I'm excited.
Okay, yeah. And Daryl is saying thank you, Amber. Okay.
You're welcome, Daryl.
Let's see. Here's another one here from Fred. He's just basically saying, do you have any sales reps? You probably don't.
No, I do not. I did think about doing that. I kind of contemplated because we did get training and stuff training about it during our time in Dallas. But I never went that route though. But I did think about it.
And you are, what part of the country are you in? I forgot.
I'm in Texas.
Right here, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so let me ask you this: Do you probably none of those clients are out of state? They're all just local then.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Colbert to Texas.
But the great thing is that somewhere down the line, one of those doctors might know a doctor in another state, and then
Exactly.
it's fairly easy to sign those people up using the technology we have. You don't have to travel or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if a doctor refers you to a friend that's in another state and he goes, hey, this person has salvaged my practice. They've increased my revenue. I've cut costs.
Yes.
They're going to tell them and be thrilled, aren't they?
Exactly.
We had one licensee who said that they had a doctor out of the blue in her office. She said, I got a contract from a doctor that I'd never met. It was a contract from a doctor that he had, told him about, and given him the contract. This doctor had marked out that doctor's name and put his name there and just faxed it into her.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that's awesome. For sure. Yes.
So Amber, let me ask you this: Gosh, with your fast start here, what are your goals for this business? Have you thought about what you actually want to get to, size-wise or client-wise or money-wise?
It would be great if it could replace my salary. That would be great. And faster than it does that, then I would love to go full-time with it and then just continue to build.
There you go. All right, this kind of ties into the question from Eric. He says, Amber, how many physicians do you think you could handle claims for by yourself if you worked 8 hours a day, just a regular 8-hour day?
Oh dear, maybe. I would say 3 to 4. I could.
You mean 3 to 4 doctors?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Each having what, 400 or 500 claims, or?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about right. People ask me all the time, well, how do I know when I'm at the point where I got to hire somebody? Well, you just know, don't you? You just go,
right.
I don't want to put any more hours in, or I've done enough claims to where I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
I can task somebody else to do that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Amber, now I didn't ask this question ahead of time, so I'm just going to trust that you say the right thing.
Okay.
That sounds like a setup, doesn't it? No, I want you to be honest.
Okay.
You've been with us just a short period of time, since January is when you started marketing. What has the support been like from ABS?
Oh, ABS has been amazing. You guys have just, and I'm honest. I'm so nothing to lie about. You guys have answered all of my 1,000 questions that I ask in email or if I call on the phone. You guys are just always there, and you've been really great during the whole process. That's why I loved the support that you guys have given us from the beginning. My husband can attest to it as well.
Well, we've got licensees who've been with us now many, many years, 10, 12, 15 years, and they all will say the same thing, that they've never waited for more than just a couple of hours to get a reply from us. They can always get us on the phone when they call. That's our dedication to our licensees, because as you know, Amber, we make money on the back end as well from our technology partners. We have agreements with them where we make a few pennies on each claim that goes to the system. So why wouldn't we support you? The more claims you have coming to the system, the more money we're making on the back end as well.
Exactly.
So that works out good for everybody. All right. Now, folks, I don't see a whole lot of questions at this point. Let me check my time here. Oh, we're just about at the hour. In fact, Amber, I told you I'd let you go a little bit early before the hour is over. So
no worries.
It's been so gracious of you to take this time.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I hope
on here appreciates that too, because well, they're having the same struggle you did. Is this a scam, or should I trust these people and invest with them? All right, so I've got one last question from Daryl before you go, and then we'll let you go. What has been the most challenging aspect in starting your medical billing business?
Balancing everything: my job, my home life, and then the medical billing. So just balancing it all.
Yeah, that baby is coming up a year now, right?
Yes, she is. So, yeah, that has been the hardest. But I take it one day at a time.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Exactly.
Well, Amber, thank you so much. I appreciate
your time.
And you let me know if there's anything I can do for you. We're here.
Okay, I sure will. Okay,
Okay.
alrighty.
Bye
Take
for
care.
now.